What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. Brenden Schaeffer here, coming at you with an Underdog Fantasy draft. We're going with the Mini Schnauzer 8. It's a season-long best ball tournament on Underdog Fantasy. The way this works, it's a half PPR best ball format. And for those who are not familiar with best ball, you'll get familiar by watching this video. I find it to be a great way to prepare for home league drafts, not only in terms of, like from a mock draft standpoint, you're getting the experience of drafting and seeing where players go, but also like this is for money. This league counts. It's better than a mock draft because you actually want to do your best. These tournaments are a lot of fun. You're going to be a 12-team league, and if you're one of the top two teams during the first 14 weeks, you advance to the playoffs. It is a gigantic tournament. This is the Mini Schnauzer 8, but Underdog Fantasy always running various tournament formats at various price points to enter. So this is a great way to prepare. And it looks like 20 seconds on the clock for this draft, so it goes pretty quickly. We're drafting here from the 1.9 draft position, and it is a half PPR format instead of a full PPR. Let's go ahead and grab an A.J. Brown share because I don't really have very much of him so far this season, not because I think he's not going to have a good year, but just because of where I've been drafting, I've usually had guys that I've preferred. This is a fast and furious format, so get ready to roll here. Typically, we're going to look to draft a couple of quarterbacks, a couple of tight ends, 4 to 5 running backs, and around 7, maybe 8 wide receivers. And from there, you can kind of fill out the rest of your roster on an 18-round draft, just depending on your preferences as far as that goes. We're coming up here pretty soon at the 2.4. We want to make sure not to get too far behind on running back is honestly the key, I feel like, to these drafts because it can happen, well, it can happen quickly. With a lot of the interesting wide receivers that go off the board so early. It does feel, though, like a step early to be taking Devon Achane, so I'm not sure if we'll go that route. Let's pair Jalen Waddle with A.J. Brown. We're going to go back-to-back wides to start this draft. It's not an entirely uncommon strategy. Normally in home leagues, I'm liking to get one running back in the first couple of rounds. Saquon Barkley would have been kind of interesting to me at this ADP. But we did go A.J. Brown. It can be a strategy to double stack, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to get Jalen Hurts, and so I didn't really necessarily want to go with the stack. Stacking is a huge factor in best ball, something that we'll surely talk about as time goes along, because we're going to want to try to stack some of our players, especially in this large tournament format, with our quarterback, and then you even want what's called a bring back, is potentially somebody that faces your stack in week 17, which is the championship of this tournament. To give yourself a real chance to win, you have to kind of identify, all right, what games could really pop off in week 17? What way could I draft some players in that game? And if that is the game of the week, maybe I end up with a really good roster that can compete. You almost have to assume the sale on your roster being in that week 17 championship round. But again, it's a lot of fun for this format. So we're giving this a shot instead of our standard mock drafts on the channel because, well, I do like the idea of doing mock drafts that aren't really mock drafts. These count. There is money on the line when it comes to these drafts. Malik Neighbors goes 3.1. You guys are going to see, if you've been watching my mock drafts, in this video, there are wide receivers that go way earlier than what we're used to seeing, and that's kind of part of the logic behind a lot of the targets that I have in these drafts. Like, y'all know I like Neighbors a lot. In a home league, 3-1 is pretty early to take him. It's not uncommon to see him going that early here on Underdog Fantasy in these best ball drafts. Taking a look at some of the other guys who have been pushed up. Cooper Kupp going in the mid to late second round. We see Devon Achane going just a couple of picks after my Jalen Waddle pick. Achane would have been probably a nice pick for sure for us. It wouldn't have been too early to do it, but we wanted to see what it would look like if we can start. I love to build strong wide receiver cores on Underdog Fantasy, and given the way that wide receivers are pushed up draft boards, I wanted to kind of lock into elite ones that I could at the beginning because we are going to have to bypass some wide receivers to pick up other positional groups. So that's just one of the things that we're looking at here. We're a couple of picks away, coming up at the 3.9 draft slot. Team in front of us is probably taking a receiver because they've taken 2 running backs to start. Derrick Henry is sitting there for us. And look, for best ball, Derrick Henry has the potential to explode in any given week. And the idea that, and he goes Pacheco. So very interestingly, we are going to take Derrick Henry here. Derrick Henry, I think, is a little more favorable in Underdog than your full PPR home league because, A, we know Derrick Henry has the boom potential. If there's a game where he doesn't get all the touchdowns, well, maybe he's not the best option for your lineup, but you don't have to worry about that in best ball because it all happens automatically. Your 4 or 5 running backs, however many you draft, will have their scores tabulated, and the top 2 will go into your RB spots, plain and simple. Another example of best ball, just driving up the price on wide receivers. Rashee Rice goes 3.10. Look, that's not uncommon, really, to see in this format. So something else to keep in mind there. I like being able to lock in Derrick Henry, though, because I do believe he's an RB with high upside. We don't get punished as much for the lack of pass catching because it's a half PPR instead of a full PPR setting on Underdog. And it just allows us to kind of not have to think too hard about that position, at least for a couple more rounds. I'm okay with having a lesser running back room, but you don't want to go too crazy with that concept. We are actually going to grab Jalen Hurts, and it makes you wonder if double stacking with Saquon would have been interesting. But we're in the middle of a quarterback run here that's happening organically in round 4. Allen, Mahomes go off the board. I had to scroll down a little bit for Jalen Hurts, but to be able to lock him in and stack him with A.J. Brown felt like the obvious move there for me. So I feel pretty good about the way that this draft has started out, as we'll just kind of keep in mind, make sure we are aware of, well, who do the Eagles play week 17 to see if there's a natural way. They play the Cowboys week 17 to see if there's a natural way to be able to grab some Cowboys that could be the bring back. And that nobody would be surprised if that ends up being a very high-scoring game. And there could be some cheaper Cowboys that we're able to get our hands on, and then we'll just be rooting for those Cowboys, assuming we make the championship round of Week 17, which is a long shot, but is sort of the way you have to think in best ball. There are some Cowboys that are going to be attainable. It's a little bit dangerous for me to use the queue in the way that I'm about to with only 20-second clocks, but I just want to keep Rico Dowdle in mind as somebody that could be my bring back to the Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown stack that we've put together here on our roster. We'll be looking to attack wide receiver. If there's an opportunity to grab a locked-in tight end, we'll be doing that as well. Scroll down to remember that Brandon Cooks is a Dallas Cowboy that we'll want to be looking for. Jake Ferguson would honestly be a pretty good bring back as well if we can put a star by his name. And we'll actually, because his ADP is a little higher than the other guys we starred, we'll make sure to just put him at worst case scenario. I miss my pick and I reach on a guy like Jake Ferguson. But better than having Brandon Cooks listed first when his ADP is a lot lower. We'll fill in some Q options here as we get closer to our next pick. Dalton Kincaid would be a smash pick at this stage. We probably won't get him. Might be wasting my time here to put him in the queue because we've got about 5 picks remaining until we go. This, like I said, Fast and Furious, the format is fantastic. I've got a promo code for Underdog Fantasy listed in the video description. Go ahead and click that and sign up with my promo code. They'll give you a deposit offer, and you'll be supporting the channel. So appreciate you guys for that. 5 picks away, so let's just assume Kincaid is gone. James Cook, someone interesting at this stage. Jaden Reed, if we want to double back to wide receiver, we could even go, well, there goes James Cook. We could go with Chris Godwin, not a terrible pick. Hollywood Brown's tough for me. How long is he going to be out? That's the question. He's still not practicing. Xavier Worthy goes, so you can really see the names, the hot names at the wide receiver position are pushed up. Only 1 pick between now and our pick, so we don't really have to panic here. Kyle Pitts is another tight end that would make a lot of sense. So we're going to get somebody we like. Kincaid, Pitts, or Jaden Reed. Rome Odunze, honestly, I'd probably take above Jaden Reed. And Joe Mixon goes there. I don't know if we're going to be able to get – I know he's listed lowest on the list, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get Odunze coming back. I mean, that is let's take our shot here if we can on Rome. We almost missed our pick. We're going to grab Rome Odunze. The it names drive up. The it names drive up. If we miss out on Kincaid, and we do, we miss Kincaid, we'll probably miss Kyle Pitts as well. Kittle's still there, though, as a tight end that we could take. We could double back to running back with Ken Walker. I just thought there was going to be more names in this range that I was willing to take on the bring back in round 6 than if I had missed Odunze. I could feel the pang in my stomach of how I was going to feel. I wanted Odunze on this roster. I feel like we have a really nice build with Brown, Waddle, and Rome Odunze. Upside. Weekly, a rookie might not be ready to just light the world on fire every single week, but in best ball, he doesn't have to. Remember, the way that the format works is going to automatically put the best performances from our roster in our lineup each and every week. We don't have to manage the lineup. That's the beauty of this format. So we've got a great situation here. Pitts has dropped. Jaden Reed has dropped. Kittle is here. We'll take any of them. I kind of want to go with Pitts, but I wonder if maybe we can plan to have the bring back. Let's go with Jaden Reed. Really lock in another great wide receiver. We're hoping, let's see, and the math was a little fuzzy on me there. At 81, there's a chance that we're going to be able to get Jake Ferguson to drop back to us. That's our hope. We'll just unstar Pitts and Kittle because we know that we made a decision causes us to miss out on them. Let's start doing some planning, though. Look, Pitts would have been a great choice, and honestly, you could make the case that I should have selected him, but I like the 4-pack of wideouts we have here, all having different bye weeks, which matters a little bit for best ball because you don't want to stack too many of the same bye weeks. Now, you can have I did a best ball last night on Underdog where it didn't really affect me that I had a lot of week 14 bye guys because I stacked Andrews and Lamar. I had some others that were the bring back also happened to be Dalton Schultz, who was the bye week, the same as the Ravens. So that's just one of those things that happens. But I feel like having a wide receiver core with this level of upside is great. Weekly, we could be relying upon those guys. It is a format of 3 wide receivers and 1 flex, so I believe all 4 of these guys theoretically could start in the same week. But we are going to want 7 or 8 wide receivers that we feel good about by the end of it. We're seeing Hollywood Brown drop a little bit down low, and that'll be interesting to see kind of how far he drops. Certainly would be somebody that we would be happy to take in the next pick that we have here around pick overall 81. But let's go ahead and take a look. Brian Thomas, we're going to put a star by him. We won't start Christian Watson because we have his teammate Jaden Reed, and I'm not trying to necessarily double stack Packers. I think it's possible that could work out. You know what? I'll talk myself into it. We'll star him because if he's there, he's going to be a pick over some of these other names. Keon Coleman, always like to star the rookies. We'll star Jamison Williams. I don't mind starring Aaron Jones either. So how many stars do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're about 9 picks away. There goes Pitts. There goes Watson. So those are a couple of the guys that we wanted, but we did take our star off of Pitts. So we've got 5 stars left. I will take Hollywood. I'll just commit to that at 81 if he's there. So that's 6 names we like. Seeing Mostert and Kyler go is great because we've already locked in a quarterback. Was going to be too early to take a second one. And we've got 5 teams to pick before us. And you always want to have more starred names than picks ahead of you. And we've got 6 starred names. So we're going to feel good about no matter what happens here. Honestly, for our roster, it might be better to end up with an Aaron Jones in this spot here. Smith and Jigba would have been great, but I don't know if I was going to be able to expect him to drop to me. I mean, we like our 4 receivers. Coleman goes. They're starting to take some receivers off the board. Hollywood goes. 2 picks to go. It's J-Mo, Aaron Jones, or Ferguson. I'm going to pick whichever one falls and be perfectly content with that. If Diggs Deep or Jeremo takes somebody different, then we'll actually have a decision on our hands. But we're comfortable regardless of the way that this plays out. Ingram goes, which means we are going to have a little bit of agency of choice here. I think it'll be I think it'll be Aaron Jones or Ferguson, but at the same time, if Jamison Williams is our 5th wide receiver, we're feeling really good about that. There are going to be receivers later, though. It's just wide receivers get driven up the board so high that it can be a little bit difficult. But because we wanted that bring back with the Dallas Cowboys and Jake Ferguson, he fills a great need for our team. He's a locked-in starter for the Cowboys. He is a bring back for our Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown stack. We needed a tight end at some point here soon, so we feel pretty good about this. We'll unstar J-Mo and Aaron Jones. We don't want to be sad when they go off the board. We just made the decision to take Jake Ferguson, and I really like that pick. A balanced roster right now. We'll look to grab another tight end later on, I'm sure, but it maybe 3. You might end up with 3 tight ends. But Ferguson as our tight end 1, where we got him feels like a good pick. We have a balanced roster right now. We do want to consider the RB spot. Take a look at some of the names we might like if they can get to us. Swift. Warren is lining up to play week 1, so we like him. Brooks is tough because of the injury, but for best ball, I mean, he could end up winning us some weeks down the stretch. I like Pollard. I like Chase Brown. I like Javonte. I even like Brian Robinson. So we're going to have some running backs coming up on this next turn. We just want to get one of those guys to drop to us. Other starred names, Jordan Addison feels like a value in this range. Brock Bowers, we don't need a tight end, but let's just keep him in mind. Jaden Daniels, we don't need a second quarterback just yet, but keep him in mind as well. Not really plus EV necessarily to double stack the same game. Like you'd think, oh, grab Dak Prescott because him throwing to Ferguson, and if that's the game. But you can only start one quarterback in that game. So we just kind of are going to need for it to be, ooh, what happened there? I got to talking and I missed my pick, didn't I? And ended up grabbing Dowdle. Well, that hurts a little bit. Yeah, Ferguson was the background. So, hey, don't do what I did. We were starring all these names that we were excited about, and we took a big L on that, guys. Yep. That's the 20-second clock that can sometimes get you. So we'll take, and that's fine. The two bringbacks, we did need a running back. Dowdle was a big-time reach where we took him. All these running backs on the board I prefer to him, and so that's going to be a little bit painful, the fact that we are going to be on the long end right now, because we really had a great draft lining up, but it's as quick as that thing can happen. And this is my first time ever streaming a draft with a 20-second clock, so that's part of what happened to me there. But just a reminder, you want to do a little bit better than I did of organizing your queue, because if I had thought to just move Dowdle to the bottom after I selected Ferguson, we were victory lapping Ferguson, we wouldn't have made that mistake. That's a 116 ADP. I mean, I'm going to be real with you. That's a huge mistake to draft him at 88. That's a massive, massive miss on my part. But you know what? That's what can happen sometimes if you are in this format with 20-second clocks. But you just can't make that mistake. Granted, this is like a $3 draft. I'm going to survive. But it's just the type of thing that I like people being able to see happen, and y'all can, accordingly adjust your process based on something like that happening to me. Take a look at some other names. We could end up, there are going to be some more Packers in this range that are pretty interesting. So because we did go Dowdle, we just might need Dowdle to be great. And, that could happen, but certainly we could have had him at the upcoming turn of picks, which is why it ends up being so disappointing. Let's see what our next pick is, 105. So Pollard, Brown, and Robinson probably are going to all be gone. So that really does sting, because our running back room is going to be lesser. I would have locked in any of the names. Pollard would have probably been on this team, and instead we're going to end up with probably not having any of those running backs. But you live and learn. There goes Chase Brown. Next tier of running back, though, I mean, even Singletary, even Tyjae Spears, we're going to be a little weaker than we wanted to be for sure at running back because of that miss. But we got a pick coming up here in a couple of picks. Check in on the tight ends real quickly. There's not a ton there that I'm desperate to have. Taylor Lockett could still be kind of fun for best ball. You don't have to wonder when the spike weeks are going to be. Some fun quarterbacks, but we did prioritize the quarterback position pretty significantly, so we're not necessarily looking to do it here. Although it would be kind of fun to stack Jordan Love with Jaden Reed. And we have some other, so let's do this. We will go ahead and take Jordan Love here. Might be putting bad after bad by doing it this way. But we do have Jaden Reed, and that'll stack with Jordan Love. It's not just about Week 17. It's about the other weeks that can get you there, right? So that'll be kind of fun. And we could even potentially double stack if one of these Dontavian Wicks or Romeo Doubs should drop to us. Could have gone Brian Robinson there as well. But as I got into looking at it, possibly a Singletary or a Spears that gets to us here ends up being a just fine pick. Vikings is the Week 17 game, by the way, for the Packers. So we want to keep that in mind a little bit if we're trying to maximize our chances to double stack there. I think Hawkinson's going to go too early, but we can go ahead and put a star by his name just because he's going to be out for the first few weeks. And if we're prioritizing him strictly for Week 17 and we know we've got Ferguson early, that could be a fun name. I just don't think the draft is going to line up for us to get him. His ADP is, it's 141. So maybe the next turn through we could think about him. Lockett goes. We've got two running backs. We've got only still 4 wide receivers. I wish I had more receivers than I do, but we see Dontavian Wicks go. And I think Romeo Doubs is long gone. So let's grab. It's going to be kind of gross. But Devin Singletary, I think, is going to be the main running back for the Giants. He's going to get volume, and he's going to probably volume his way into being a fine floor play for our lineup. And we might need that if Dowdle is a miss. Look, I'm telling you what, if this was Pollard instead of Dowdle, I would be really loving the team that we have put together. We did take 2 relatively early quarterback picks, which is maybe not highly recommended, but I think it's okay with the way that we've got it plotted out. And I always love being able to stack somebody with Jaden Reed and Jordan Love there as our picks. Our quarterbacks do have 2 different bye weeks, so we could end the draft with the 2 quarterbacks we have. We may not select another one because we prioritize that position with some early picks. As a result of that, let's kind of scroll through and check out some of the other options that could be here. Cooks, I would not mind to have, but I don't really need to overly stack that Week 17 game. I've already got my tight end as a Cowboy and my backup running back. So we'll click a couple other names here at receiver. I kind of want to get a piece of Jalen Polk. Like, if they start Drake May, I remember Jalen Polk at Washington was just a stud, and University of Washington, that is. And I might like to have a piece of him. Jacoby Myers already going after ADP, so we'll click him because if he's available, it's a good pick. Darnell Mooney feels like a good pick in this range. Josh Downs dealing with a little bit of an injury, but we can click his name. We clicked Xavier Legette, another rookie that, could pop off for our team. We're still waiting a little bit of time here. We've got about 10 picks to go before us. But we've got 3 running backs. The Dowdle thing will be something that we just have to live down, but it happens. We want to end up with maybe 4 or 5 running backs. We'll click Jerome Ford in case he drops below ADP. I don't think he will, but with Chubb out to begin the year. And then we'll kind of be looking, I think I'm far enough into the draft now where I'm going to start clicking some of the rookies. We need to get one of these rookies if we can. Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving, and Jalen Wright. Just getting one of those guys would be nice. Even like a Vidal could be someone that's interesting. So we're going to hope to get one of those if we can. Let's keep in mind where their ADPs are in the 140s, and then the next crop is in the 150s-ish. Hawkinson goes at 24, so that takes that idea off the board. Other Vikings, and we can't get Ty Chandler. And we might not just be able to stack that Week 17 for the Packers, and that's not the end of the world. We don't want to get too caught up in it. And I don't see nobody else that's jumping to mind to me, so we're just going to kind of let that play out the way that it is right now. Cooks is here. I might take him if Judy goes, but Jalen Polk could be interesting too. Working with the starters, yeah, I kind of want to have a Jalen Polk share. That might be my pick here if he doesn't go. Right around ADP. Cooks does go. Could go Jerry Judy. I'd rather go Jalen Polk. It might be like a reach, but you know what? If people were drafting Puka Nacua in the 11th last year, that would have been a reach too. Granted, I don't think Jalen Polk is about to have a Puka Nacua season, but get your guys is always a great philosophy. And he's our 5th wide receiver, another unique bye week for the receiver room. So we should have a shot every single week at fielding a solid wide receiver room with the numbers that group can put up. We can basically ignore quarterback right now because we've got 2 that we paid up to get. Chubb is so dangerous. He's dropping below ADP a little bit for obvious reasons. Charbonnet gives you a little bit of a PPR boost. Algier, again, we're kind of looking at floor names when it comes to running back and some of these guys, but we could also veer from that and try to stash away Jalen Wright a little bit above ADP. Gives us another piece of that Miami offense if he's there to be taken. And we'll see. Schultz goes, Kmet goes. So we're good still at tight end. We're going to want to get a couple more late, but Ferguson can anchor that room and we can feel decent about it. And Wright goes 1 pick before us, which is a bummer. But we're just going to take another rookie, and we're going to take Trey Benson, who drops a little bit below ADP, or at least had been at the top of the RB list for a while. Yeah, I was thinking Jalen Wright was going to be the good pick there, but that's all right. We'll get a little bit more exposure to we like this Cardinal offense. Bye weeks, a little bit interesting in Week 11. We're going to need Dowdle and Henry to carry the load. Singletary and Benson both with the same bye. But we'll probably still get one more running back, and we'll just try to make that not be a Week 11 bye guy. Lots of running backs toward the top right now. Freiermuth is a tight end that's way up there. We could take Legette. We could just grab another running back right now. And Ray Davis in the 140s. Yeah, it's always confusing me. I'm on the long end of the turn now. So my next pick is not till 53. So at that point, a lot of these running backs will be gone. McLaughlin's actually interesting enough to put a star by for getting some PPR bonus and half PPR formats. Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving. If we get one of those guys at this next pick, that'd be great. They're guys that are rising up ADP pretty quickly. And that would be a way to fill out running back and be able to just focus on some late stabs at wide receiver and tight end that we like. I'm assuming we'll see Leggett and Downs be gone, but let's start to think about late wide receivers that could be interesting while we're sitting here. Like Yoshivas could be for Cincinnati, their wide receiver 3. Not a lot of upside to that pick, but just thinking about guys that could play and see the field. Luke McCaffrey, I don't know if he can play, but they did trade Jahan Dotson from that room. Says he's not separating from other receivers, so I'm not over the moon about him. Jordan Whittington has been good in preseason. Might just be a fun name to have a star next to just in case. What's Roman Wilson been up to? He's still been nursing that injury. I think, though, Roman Wilson was good in college. I liked the landing spot, and so I should star him because we could get him at a value because of the fact that he's been injured all camp. People might end up forgetting about him as a result. I mean, if Leggett is there, I'll take him. Ray Davis is there, I'll take him. I really shouldn't take Algier or McLaughlin. We're going to get one of our buzz rookie running backs, or we're going to get Xavier Leggett here. Algier goes, which is great. Gives us more options. We hope Jaleel McLaughlin or Musgrave goes, honestly. Ray Davis or Leggett, that's going to be the pick. Either way. Bucky Irving is a little bit risky if he drops because of that Week 11 bye, but we can live with it if that's what happens. All right, so Leggett goes, which means we're just going to lock in Ray Davis. He's got receiving chops. I think he's going to be in a role right away behind James Cook. Might not be a huge role immediately, but Ray Davis out of Kentucky is a good running back. So let's grab him. He's our 5th running back. That's really all we need. We don't need to draft another one. We prioritize receiver at the start, but we do want receiver to be more bloated than RB. And I felt like I had to almost grab a 5th running back because of the crappy Dowdle pick, but that's okay. We still feel like we like this draft. That's going to be our one obvious issue. And like we could go a little bit crazy with it and say like Braylon Allen or Bucky Irving, if they drop here, we take. Because there's a lot more value on them than there are the wide receivers in this range. Noah Fant could be interesting, though. We're close to his ADP. It might be nice to get another. Our next pick is going to be a little bit later. 177, so like Ben Sinnott might not even be there anymore. We are on the clock right now. Irving went. Braylon Allen's just sitting there. This is not recommended, and if it was I'm gonna pick him. If this was a big, like Best Ball Mania, I paid $25 to play it. I probably don't draft 6 RB. It's not a great upside format, but I really think our RB room after the Dowdle pick is strong. Now we just need to get lucky with the receivers we picked being great because we didn't end up with the robust receiver room that we want. We've got 4 rounds left. We are going to commit to not taking another quarterback too. We're gonna pick through some of these wide receivers and tight ends. We're gonna make sure to get at least 2 more wide receivers, 1 tight end, and then the last pick can just be either or. We'll star likely at this point. We get a little less selective positionally. Like Burton is a guy that I want to happen, but I don't know. Maybe at the end of the season, Burton's more relevant, and because we're going a little riskier anyway, to take some upside shots. Like Quentin Johnston's looked better. Team is expecting a year 2 breakout. I don't know if I'm expecting one for Quentin Johnston, but we'll click him, right? We'll click him because we beggars can't be choosers at this stage. We've loaded up on running back in a way we're not used to doing. I'm just clicking a bunch of names. I like Theo Johnson a little bit. Gesicki, you could do worse at that ADP to just have a tight end. If he ends up somehow clicking with Joe Burrow, then it works. So we're okay here. I mean, this isn't the once Rico Dowdle happened, you knew we were going to be in for it. We'll look at the draft board so we don't miss our pick. That really stinks that I did that. Call me an idiot in the comments, though. That's all right. Bigsby goes after Marvin Mims. We do see QJ off the board. Tyrone Tracy goes. So we wait a little bit here. We're getting close. We love seeing a quarterback go once we've already made up our mind not to pick one. Jake Ferguson's bye week is week 7, so I'm just kind of saying all this out loud so that I keep it in mind while we're sitting here. Move some of the higher ADP guys up just because we know what happened the last time that we didn't do that. We'll probably take a tight end with this pick, I would think. I ended up liking the running back room a lot. Having Braylon Allen and Ray Davis off the bench, Trey Benson as well, it kind of balances out the low floor or the high floor, low ceiling of a Devin Singletary. Dowdle is a missed pick, but Henry, I think, could be floor or upside, depending on where the touchdowns go there. This is after ADP on Noah Fant, and we need a tight end, so let's take him. Could click with Geno Smith. That'll move the guys like Likely and send it down our board a little bit. We're going to get one more pick here, and then it's going to be the long wait. We can take Kamani Vidal off our list because we aren't needing a 7th running back. This will be a receiver, and we'll see how much we end up reaching on whoever we take. When you lock yourself in positionally to something, it can end up being a reach, but that's okay. Sometimes it can feel like the end of the world when you make a mistake in a best ball draft, but it's not. Life will go on. I think we'll go with Jermaine Burton or Demarcus Robinson. And Robinson, it feels like a little bit safer. On track for the number 3 job for the Rams. So let's go ahead and click his name. We get ourselves a 6 wide receiver. I love the first 4 receivers we have. And look, if those guys have great years, we might still be able to make a little bit of hay in this tournament. Who knows? We'll click off of Likely and send it just because we have grabbed our 2nd tight end. Parkinson could be available later, so we'll keep those tight ends up just to remember that they are options for us with our last 2 picks. 18 rounds on Underdog is the way that it is formatted here. But best ball, man, that's the format that I originally learned about with Underdog Fantasy, and still a great one. Still a great one. Even if you miss your pick in an early round and take Rico Dowdle. What was that, round 8? Dadgummit. That's painful. But with where we are with our roster right now, I mean, the running back room I really do feel good about, despite that miss. A.J. Brown, Waddle, Roma Dunze, Jaden Reed, Jalen Polk, Demarcus Robinson. That's a good 6-pack. We need a 7th for sure. You see, like, the team in front of me has 9 wide receivers and only 4 running backs. That's a little more standard, honestly. 5 and 7, 5 and 8. If you go 2 QB, 2 tight end, that's another way you could kind of end up going into round 18. 6 running backs is too many. And you'll see that. Nobody else has 6. I don't believe. Oh, this guy does. All right, we are on the clock. I forget who it was that I was considering along with, well, I guess Burton dropped me, so let's just take him. He's not looked great in camp, and Josephus might start out being ahead of him. He goes 1 pick behind us. I want the guy, though, that is the rookie out of Alabama that has upside, that by week 17 could be cooking. I think that's Burton more so than Josephus, personally. So we like the way that plays out. We've got our 2 tight ends. We've got our 2 quarterbacks. There's nothing we desperately need. I guess it depends on how much you trust Jake Ferguson and Noah Fant to get us through the season at tight end. Because that can tank a team if you don't have what you need there. But getting one more receiver could be nice, like Roman Wilson to round out the team. We won't take Whittington. We've already got a Ram and Robinson. But if we could grab one of these 3 players here, Wilson, Theo Johnson, or Gesicki, I think I lean toward a 3rd tight end because I just want to trust the receiver room, even though it is more shallow than I would like it to be. I just want to have a little bit of trust in it. I don't trust my tight ends quite as much. I think Theo Johnson could be a starter, first team reps kind of guy. So let's take him with our last pick. Get a third tight end just because there are going to be weeks where Fant and Ferguson don't perform. Maybe that week Theo happens to have performed. The way that this played out, I think, honestly, if you can go back to round 8 and take Rico Dowdle out completely, the way that it played out, I would have rather had a receiver in his spot. Trying to see who the options would have been there. Addison. Yeah, I would have taken Jordan Addison and loved my team. Because that would have been the 5 running back, 8 receiver split that I would have preferred. But we totally missed our pick. Addison probably would have been my pick if I was paying attention, and I just thought it was the long turn, and so I started clicking names, and it wasn't. It was the short side, and it was ready for me, and I wasn't ready for it. But that's okay. Let me know what you guys think of this format and what you thought of my draft. I've highlighted the things I didn't like about it, but Hurts, Love, good quarterback room. Henry, Dowdle, Singletary, Benson, Ray Davis, and Braylon Allen. Love the wide receiver, or the running back room, I should say. It's just too many players in it. Should have taken Dowdle out. If you put Addison in there with Brown, Waddle, Ramadunze, Jaden Reed, Jalen Polk, Demarcus Robinson, and Jermaine Burton, I think that would have been a win. But here's my team. We got close to a really good draft here, folks, but the mini Schnauzer I can play up to 20 times, I think. So I might run another one of these later on. Let me know what you guys thought of this one, and we will talk to you next time on the channel. Peace.